Beware the Ides of March. Okay, it's April, but this latest Google Core Algorithm update, which is called the Google March 2025 Core Algorithm Update, launched March 13th, right before the Ides of March. For those of you who are unaware, the Ides of March is March 15th, sometimes called the Ides of March because that's the day Julius Caesar was assassinated. And the quote, "Beware the Ides of March," is from Shakespeare, his play about Julius Caesar. So it seemed appropriate because things were off the charts. No one was getting assassinated that I know of, knock on wood, but our websites were just going all over the place, all over the place. The volatility. So, for those of you who are unaware, the volatility that happened even before it was officially launched, like Google said, we're going to launch this update, but not until March 13th. And like a few days before March 13th, people were like, "Are you sure you're not doing anything?" Because we're experiencing a lot of volatility. And this seems to happen with every update. Google goes, "No, no, no, we're not rolling it out until this date." And people always see things going a little wonky, or in this case, a lot wonky before that date. Also, after that date, right? It usually takes about 2 weeks to roll out. That was the case here as well. It was March 13th to, I believe, March 27th was the day it finished rolling out. So I wanted to wait until everything was finished rolling out before talking to you guys about it so we could see what happened. We did see a ton of volatility in those first few days, including before March 13th. But so if you're unaware, volatility means your search ranking, your position in the search rankings is going up and down and up and down, and you're ranking and you're gone, and you're ranking and you're gone, and no one knows what's happening. It tends to happen during Google Core algorithm updates because they're messing with their algorithm, making changes and updates. There's going to be a lot of volatility for those first few days. So most of the time, we don't really worry about it. We go, "Oh, yeah, Google's updating their algorithm." Okay. But this time, the volatility was so high, it was almost literally off the charts. SERPstat was reporting 9.3 out of 10 for volatility. Another tool was ranking 8.4 out of 10 for volatility. It was the highest levels of volatility we have ever seen, to the point where some people were like, and this was all third-party SEO tools, right? SERPstat and all of the others that you can use to measure this stuff. Those were the ones that were getting really wonky, to the point where some people were like, "Is there something wrong with the third-party SEO tools?" Turns out no, there was nothing wrong with the tools. What happened was Google changed the code on their website that affected how the SEO, the third-party SEO tools were reading the search rankings, which is what caused that volatility. So, or the reported volatility. Again, there's always some volatility with these updates, but there was just a lot. Some of the fun things people reported: huge volatility in search rankings, URLs disappearing from Google only to reappear and then disappear again. Extremely low traffic from organic search, some people reported. Low quality traffic from organic search, that is at best, and at worst, bouncing back to Google right away, which is a problem because we learned in this update, I say we learned it, we had confirmed in this update because we already knew if you have a high search position and no one clicks through, or they click through and bounce right back, you can actually lose your position. Google's going to downrank you because they're like, "Well, people are searching for this. We're showing them this content. They're not clicking through to this content. This must not match what they're looking for." So if people aren't clicking through and getting what they need from your website when you rank for certain search terms, that can actually hurt your SEO in the long run, because Google wants to give people the content they're looking for. And if they're not engaging with your site, then you probably don't have what they're looking for. So that's just another reason to be really careful that you are targeting the right keywords and being very conscious about the content you're creating with those keywords and making sure that it's in line with what people are looking for when they use those search terms. One person even reported most of their traffic was coming from the US, even though the website is only designed for German-speaking areas. So that was interesting. So check your stats and see if you had some more traffic than usual coming from odd places of the world. I know I always have people coming to my site from random places, and I'm like, "Really? People in those countries are on my website? Weird. Okay, whatever." All right, so that was the fun part, right? That was the people going, ah, what's happening? But let's get into what this update was actually intended to do, which, as always, is to improve the rankings of websites with high quality content that actually answers people's questions. This is Google's stated, I mean, reason for being, really. It is also their stated goal for this particular Google Core update. The main goal here was really they were focusing on their AI, which is interesting. They want to improve their AI features, including AI overviews. They were also looking at possibly putting, because I mean, if you use Google at all, you see AI overviews at the top, which makes sense. And now they're thinking, well, maybe we'll put AI overviews in the middle instead of at the top, in the middle of the page, which is weird because I think of AI overviews as kind of the next step as the featured snippet, which is if you really like, if Google really likes your content and you check all the boxes, sometimes literally, right? Then you have this featured snippet, which is like a whole box that appears on the first page of Google before people even click through to your website. That was always at the very top. That was always very prime real estate, so to speak. That was what made it so coveted was not just the space, but the location. So I think it's interesting that Google thinks their AI overviews might be better off lower down the page. I'm not sure if they're trying to improve click-throughs of websites that are higher ranked. Maybe they think if the AI overview is lower down, people will click through on the websites that are higher up. I don't know if that's really what people are looking for. I can see that being of use to as an SEO person who is trying to get clicks through to my clients' websites. I see the value in that for me as the user. I mean, obviously, if I'm looking for content, yes, I want to click through to the website. But if I just need a quick answer, an AI overview can give me that quick answer. I don't see the value in making me scroll down to get it. So I don't know. I don't know if Google's on the right track there. We will see. Google is also making improvements to its health AI overviews, including expanding health knowledge panels and launching a new what people suggest for health topics. This makes sense because Google tends to be extra careful when it comes to health knowledge. It does not want to direct its people towards content that could be hurting them. Um, Also, AI is hilariously wrong, like more often than we like to admit, when it gives us information. So it can. I'm not surprised that Google is putting extra effort into this area of their AI. Um, what else? Google has dropped review counts for non-shopping search results, which makes sense. I know when I'm looking for stuff, if I'm looking to buy something or hire someone, I'm absolutely going to look at what are the reviews like, how many reviews do they have. If I'm not shopping, if I'm just looking for information on something, I don't care about the reviews. So it makes sense that Google's like, we're just not going to show that. If your website ranks highly for certain searches, but people don't click through to your website, we already covered that. So what? What do we do? What do we do with all of this information? John Mueller, who works for Google, says, I mean, the same thing they always say. This isn't really new. SEO professionals, he says, are over prioritizing the minor SEO metrics, such as URL structure, links, or any one of those tactics over just creating really good, rich content. Um, so of course, it's going to become as no surprise that from Google and from the writer, you're going to hear, yeah, just focus on creating high quality web content. I don't want you to ignore the other stuff because despite what Google says, that stuff is important, if only to help Google's algorithm read your website and figure out what it's all about. So, I mean, do that stuff too, but your priority should always be on creating really high quality content. Um, Danny Sullivan, also of Google, said that their goal continues to be to improve search rankings for high quality websites with thoughtful content. Hopefully, that means creators of those types of sites will recover by the end of 2025 if they lost search ranking status for previous core algorithm updates. But of course, there are never any guarantees in SEO as in life. So we have seen some, unfortunately, we have seen some high quality, rich content actually get downgraded in the searches. And Google's just kind of like, oh, well, that happens. And Unfortunately, there's really no good answer as to how to recover from that. You may or may not, if you were one of the people who lost rankings as a result of a previous update, you may or may not have improved after this core update. Google likes to give mixed messages. Sometimes it says, oh, well, we're always making improvements. So you couldn't see improvements in your rankings in between core updates, but not always, which, okay, that's super helpful. Thanks for that. So what is the point of creating all this content if it's not going to actually help us? I am going to keep saying the same thing. I always say, and the same thing Google always says, is focus on that high quality content. I'm not going to, don't ignore the other stuff, the technical SEO, because again, that's how we help Google read your website. So Google knows what's going on there so that it can figure out where to rank you. But it is always about creating that high quality content and focus on the meta descriptions. This is something I've been working on a lot with my clients, with my own content, is what are people looking for when they search for this? And then what's a good summary? You only have a few lines for the meta description, but that will affect your click-through rates. Are people gonna look at that meta description and be like, oh yeah, this is what I'm looking for, this is what I'm hoping for? Or is it just a bunch of keywords and a call to action, right? Don't have a call to action in your meta description. No. But you should have, here's what you can expect from this content. So that is it. The other thing I do want to talk about this update is the effects that it had, because this is usually the time where we're all like, all right, the earthquake happened, who's still standing? In general, compared to previous core algorithm updates, we did see fewer sites affected, which seems to be a good thing for SEO people. It seems like we're figuring this out. Awesome, good for us. The bad news is if you were affected, you were probably hit hard. So, and there's really no way around that. So it is kind of interesting that maybe a few buildings came all the way down. They're rubble now, but most of the buildings are still standing. So that's good. So if you have any other questions about SEO in general, about Google's March 2025 core algorithm update specifically, please reach out. Always happy to answer those questions. You can get more information like this. You can see some of the graphs I was talking about over in my website on my blog post about this, which is the link to that is in the description of this video. That's it. Have a great week and happy blogging and happy SEOing, everyone.